everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Arcus, and today we will be looking through my Inktober art. Now, for those of you who don't know, Inktober is a 31-day challenge in October where you draw a drawing in ink for every day of October. It was created by Jake Parker, and there's usually a list of, there's always a list of 31 prompts that accompany it. Now, I personally have been doing Inktober for the past 4 years, and I have never once followed the list because I find that I have so many ideas for Inktober, I literally cannot follow that list. So seeing as this is my first video on this channel, I thought to get to know me a little better, it'd be a great idea to go through a sketchbook of mine, because it just shows a little window into what I like to draw. So I thought this would be the perfect time to start. So I guess we can, dive right in. Now, this is a sketchbook I got from Michael's. It was in a pack of 2 and they were $5, which is incredibly cheap. So as you can imagine, the paper is really not that great. But I did want to use it because I wanted to have all my drawings together in one spot for Inktober. Now, the sketchbook only does have 30 pages, so my last Inktober drawing is actually in another sketchbook, which I will bring out for the end of this video. But most of them fit in here, so we can go right in. Now, I have a habit of starting and ending Inktober with my OCs. I just have always done this, so I don't see a reason to stop now. And this is a Naruto character of mine. I'm a big fan of anime, and my early childhood was spent watching anime, and I guess I just never stopped. So we just have a nice, gentle start to Inktober. Going into more anime, of course, this is Tokyo Mew Mew, Mew Ichigo. This was one of my favorite animes when I was younger, and I like to pay tribute, kind of, to the things that made me start drawing during Inktober. So things like Winx Club, Witch, Tokyo Mew Mew, and so I just thought it'd be a good thing to draw. Okay, now this is where things started getting a little weirder. I realized I wanted to explore this Inktober. I wanted to push myself when it comes to shapes and when it comes to lines, because I feel like my art has stagnated recently. And I wanted to experiment with these like blocky shapes that make up people and things, because we are just broken down shapes basically. And so the idea that I was trying to go here was, this is Link from the Breath of the Wild Legend of Zelda game, which I enjoy very much, and he holds a special place in my heart. And so I wanted to capture that feeling that although he is just pixels on a screen, he still is like much more real for a lot of people, which is why like half of him is pretty blocky and then the other half is a little more rounded up, and he's kind of in sections because he's just a figment of our imagination, really. He's just pixels on a screen. I didn't really capture this very well. It was kind of a hard concept to visualize, and I might try again later, but this is what I came up with at the time. Oh, and by the way, you can see all of these drawings on my Instagram and my DeviantArt, which I will have linked below. Now moving on to the 4th day, again, getting weirder. Back to the idea of wanting to push myself to draw with more expressive lines and just work on my lines. I did a continuous line drawing, which this paper really didn't like, because some of these areas where I built up a lot of lines over and over again, it just kind of started ripping the paper. I also don't usually draw like scary things, but I thought for Halloween, for like this type of thing, I wanted to really emphasize these eyes and make it seem like scarier, I guess. And then this next 3 drawings are probably my favorites from this year's Inktober, because going back to that shape thing combined with the lines, I wanted to draw women made up of different shapes, and then I used different things to make their bodies, basically. So in this drawing, I used my Pentel brush pen, a pocket brush pen, and she's obviously like a circle kind of girl. and she's very cute. I really like her. And so we moved into rectangles, and I used my Sakura Micron fine liners for this. This is also where I started realizing that I tend to draw ideas for the sketch on the back of the page before this drawing. I don't know why I wasn't doing it for like these drawings, because this is something I do quite frequently, and you will see as like I do this for every other Inktober drawing. I really don't know why I didn't start off this way, but yeah, and she's a little risque. And then finally we have a triangle girl with again my Sakura Micron fine liners, but just a little more like depth to the lines and like shadows, while this one is very, just the lines have very similar weight. So I really like these. And then, okay, so I don't usually draw animals, but I really want to draw more animals. I think animals are really great, and I was born in the year of a dragon, so I have always loved dragons, and I've realized I've never really drawn one, so I practiced a little over here and then made this one. And although I do like how this turned out, I actually prefer the shape of this one a little better. I think he has more flow to him than this one. And so, oh, I also forgot to mention for some of these, like this and this, the colors. I have about 40 Copic markers, which I use for my drawings. I like using them. But I also bought these Touch New markers for about 50 cents a marker. They came in all shades of gray, and they don't have a brush tip, like they have a bullet tip, nib, and the chisel nib. It's not really focusing very well, but yeah, as you can see. So although I do prefer the brush nibs of the Copics, I needed to have some grays for Inktober. I usually just buy like one or here or there. I actually only have 2 gray tones, Copic colors. So I just invested in some of these markers, and it really did well for Inktober because I used them quite a bit. Alright, now again, very experimental Inktober. Oh, and I mentioned before, you can see all these drawings on my Instagram, but if you look further back on my Instagram, you can also find all of the drawings I've done for all of the previous Inktober's, if that's something that interests you. So this one, I really wanted to draw ramen. I don't know, just thought it would be a good thing to draw. And so I used my Pentel brush pen, and with some water and some other paint brushes, so I tried to create all these tones. It was kind of hard, not gonna lie. Ramen is not very, there's nothing in it that's like super dark, especially like the reference picture that I was looking at, this pork was like not that dark, so there's not a lot of contrast. That's why I tried to add this contrast on the outside. I still am really proud of it. I still really like it, but I still have room for improvement. Now this drawing is of one of my OTPs, as they say, my one true pairings. This is from Bleach. This is Orihime no Dekora. Just wanted to draw a couple. And I also got this Stedler gray. It's not really a fine liner, it's more for like, it's really good for like bullet journaling and that kind of stuff, but I wanted to see how it would look if I have these like solid dark outlines and then the gray inside. Okay, so this is not my favorite drawing. I feel like it should have been a little more detailed, a little more effort kind of put into it. Like, the days fluctuate, not all the days are great in Inktober. We just don't have time some days. This is Ludwig II. He is a German king. Well, he was the king of Bavaria at the time, and he's the guy who created, who built Neuschwanstein, if you know what that is. It's like the most like picturesque castle in Germany. It's what Walt Disney based his castle off of. And I actually went and visited Germany this summer, specifically the Bavaria area, and I went to Neuschwanstein, and I didn't really know much about this guy, but we went on a tour in the castle, and they told us that, you know, he was a really sad, kind of lonely guy who lived in the storybooks and was introverted and possibly gay, and you know, just lived kind of a really sad life, and I really felt for him. So I think of him often now. He's probably like my favorite royal, if that's a thing. So I wanted to draw him. So this day, again, just kind of trying out some line work. It slowly gets more and more dotted, and this is something I was kind of feeling, what's the word? What am I looking for? When you kind of have like an out-of-body experience where like you don't feel like you are yourself. I don't remember the word right now. If it comes to me, I'll tell you, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to capture something like that, and back to the shapes, of course. Here we are, back to my my favorite. This is Kakashi from Naruto, playing around with like having a really dark, like a big contrast between dark and like black and white, basically, and I thought he'd be a cool character to do that with. Okay, so this is whatever. I wanted to draw a house. I thought the house wasn't good enough because I wasn't being very creative with it. I was struggling with that. So I added some witches and like this maze and the moon and the sky and everything, and it just kind of got out of control because, again, I tried with my Pentel pocket brush pen, I tried to do like mid-tones and stuff, like watering it down, and it ends up not having enough, like a high enough contrast. I can't get it be that dark, so then I colored this all in, and then that just kind of took away from the focus of the picture, which was supposed to be this house. And then I also added like the pink watercolor and the yellow, and so there's like no clear like point that you were supposed to like focusing on, so it just is kind of, it's just kind of a mess. But I tried. So every Inktober I draw magical girls that have something to do with usually like Halloween, but this one is more of a fall thing. I've drawn a magical girl of candy corn and of like trick or treat, and then this one was supposed to be apple cider, but I ended up going kind of too appley for her, so I kind of want to redo her and make kind of a lineup of all the girls that I've drawn so far, because I think she's a really cute girl, and I like the way I did the lines with the hatching, but she doesn't really capture the apple cider that I was going for. Here we have 3 endangered animals, and I wanted to go back to that, playing with the shapes of the animals and whatnot, truly capturing them in not a lot of lines, which I think the bird is honestly my favorite. I'm a big fan of birds, so I think I did spend a little more time on the bird. I like the feathers and all that, and I kind of gave up on the tiger, and this is with the Vaquita, I think these are called. They're a type of dolphin, if I'm correct, and just kind of showing that these animals are kind of, you know, their habitat's being taken over and they're kind of dying off. They're being put into well, they're not being put into blocks, but they're being, their lives are being sectioned off almost, because there's fewer and fewer of them left. So a little sad, but I think an important issue to talk about. And then, so like that week that I just drew was kind of a toughy week, so I just wanted to have some fun, relax with the drawing, so I drew 2 of my characters. This is Calypso, this is Tobin. They fight together, they're really good friends. This is probably after a practice session of theirs or something. It gets really intense, and I like the contrast between them. I always try to go for that. Like, he has red hair, she has green eyes, although they're not open right now because that's like complementary, but then his skin is shaded with a cool color, while her clothes are shaded with a cool color, and then his clothes are shaded with warm colors while her skin is warm as well. So just some fun contrast things. Okay, this is another, like those girls at the beginning, those shapes, and then these are probably my favorite pages out of this Inktober. Wanted to do a little comic. There's no words, it's just a little witch, and I really wanted to play with color and emotions. So here we have, see she's having a really bad day, like nothing's going right. And then she realizes that, hey, like someone's home, the chimney's going, the lights are turned on, and she, like, who is it? You know, she thought she locked the door. She opens the door to see her vampire girlfriend standing in the doorway. And so we see like it's a very cool gray, and there's some like warm gray here, and there's yellow and warmth coming from the door when she opens it, and it changes to this color because everything's okay at the end. Here we have Todoroki Shoto from My Hero Academia. I just recently started watching it. They did just finish their 3rd season, but I'm really liking it. I just started. And he's probably one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. Yeah, he's a cutie. I like him. So I was home this weekend. I'm currently in college, and so I went home to where my parents are, where we have a bird, a parakeet named Pippin, and just wanted to draw him a little more, like this one. Here we have a lady of the moon, as I was kind of going for, just, you know, someone sleeping on the moon. Very shiny. I really like my silver gel pen. I have a gold one as well. I like using them. Haven't so much in this Inktober challenge, but I did want to do it for this page. So as October has progressed on, it's steadily gotten more and more fall-like with the weather. Colder. I've gotten to wearing more sweatshirts, which is always a plus. And I just wanted to capture like a warm feeling of a nice cafe, like on a cold fall day. So lots of warm grays. I tried a 1-point perspective, although I kind of gave up when it came to the tables and stuff. Stuff that I don't usually do, but I thought it was worth it this time around. And here we have, I realized I hadn't done like blocky stuff in a while, so I went back to that idea, went back to my ladies, but this time around I wanted to be able to see like her skeleton on the inside, but her skeleton is also still very blocky. And I also really like the composition of this one. I like how like zoomed in it is. Again, things I don't usually do. So this one is kind of a flop. I wanted to go back to how I did that ramen earlier on, where it's like nice, realistic, almost food. And this is supposed to be bread with cheese melted on top. Totally doesn't look like that. It just kind of looks like bread with weird like white spots. I used a Sigma, or a Signo, what are they called? I have them right here. I used the Signo Uniball pen to create all these white splotches, and it just kind of didn't work out. And a glass of milk. The milk's nice. I like the milk. Alright, back to my characters. I'm still kind of developing their story. I had an idea, don't like it anymore. But their characters, like the way they are, is still pretty set regardless if I know what they're doing. And so anyways, Calypso is a human, Tobin is a demon, and he is a demon that can turn into weapons of like any weapon really, but he becomes her weapon basically. And so this is kind of how they do it. Like he grabs her hand and morphs into, for her, she usually uses dual swords, so I just wanted to capture that and also have like depth in the drawing where he's further away than she is, so she's like darker than he is. It's alright. Here we have back to my animals. A little turtle old man. I don't know. I saw someone stretching his neck, and the way the skin was folded when he was stretching the neck just kind of made me think of a turtle, so I really wanted to draw an old turtle. Sometimes we have weird days. I don't know what to tell you. Here we go back to Breath of the Wild fan art. This is Cass. He plays the accordion, if you cannot tell. I don't know. This is a pretty sad accordion, so maybe you can't. I really like his accordion playing. It's a song that often gets stuck in my head, so I was singing it this day, hence why I just had to draw him. And I kind of miss color, so I used my Copics to color this. So yeah. And here we are nearing the end. I was really running out of ideas at this point, so I actually did go to that prompt list I mentioned earlier on and the prompt list for the 29th of October was double. The prompt was double. And I have these two characters that are sisters, and they kind of are opposites of each other, so double just made me think of them. They are not twins, they're not even related by blood, but they do call themselves sisters. And so I just kind of played around with hatching not just like traditional lines, but also having some unique shapes involved, and they're probably fighting some people off. And the 30th, oh, the 30th was a sad day. Could not think of any idea whatsoever. I just needed some time to myself. This one is kind of a letdown. So I just kind of drew some hands. They're nice hands. I like it, but nothing too spectacular really. And so this is where I said, you know, this only had 30 pages. So my 31st drawing for Halloween, I had this idea from the beginning. I went into my bigger sketchbook and I drew this. So it's just a little Halloween drawing that has all of my characters, if I can fit it in. Or not all of them, but the more prominent ones that I have more of an idea of, like, you know, names and who they are and all that, and I thought it'd be fun to just kind of put them all together. Yeah, I guess I can go through their names. This is Hikaru, this is Toshiko, this is Arata. They're all Naruto characters, though what often happens is I make fandom characters that eventually go off into their own stories. I have had them for a very, very long time, but I just haven't thought about them a lot, so they haven't gone off yet. This is Calypso, you've met her. This is Tobin, you've met him. This is Esther, she's a vampire character. And then these two, which you just met on day 29. I have names for them, but I'm changing them, so I'm not gonna say the names right now, because they're kind of up in the air. So yeah. That was my 31 days of Inktober. Comment down below, tell me which one was your favorite, if you completed the challenge, and if you like this video, I'm planning to upload twice a month on the first and third Friday of every month. And like, comment, and subscribe if you like what you see and want to see more. Thanks guys, bye!